Hi, I'm Caleb from Schultz Ford. Today we're going to talk about charging. So I'm here with Chris. Chris Knight is one of our managers at our Lincoln store. Chris actually owns a Mach-E, so I thought he'd be the perfect person to ask. So I came up with a few questions to ask Chris, see if he can give us the answer. So people's main concern of buying an EV is it's expensive to add a home charger. With that, are there grants available that can assist in this cost?
I know that there are some available, but it is locality specific. It's something that's going to come from your township, from your community, not necessarily something right now on a personal level where it's going to be something from the government. But I do know that there are infrastructure improvement things you can do through your businesses. If you wanted to put something outside of your business, maybe to draw a little bit more activity there. Maybe someone wants to park and charge there, but also go to
like a Dunkin' Donuts or something.
Absolutely.
And with that, does that include like renters or, let's say you own an apartment complex? Mm-hmm. Do you think that you're open to a grant because you're technically a business, and then your tenants can benefit from that?
Absolutely. And not only do I think it makes sense for a business to install those outside for their tenants that are currently living there, but I think it really opens up a whole new group of people that may be interested in moving to that complex or property, just because they know that the vehicle that they already have or the one that they would like to purchase, they're going to be able to take care of their charging just when they get home from work. They can plug it
in. And going off of installing chargers, mm-hmm. Do you think that having a home charger could increase the market value of your house?
Absolutely. I know a lot of people, whenever they're looking at what they can do to their houses, they do a lot of things that I think appeal to a broader purchaser. You don't necessarily paint the walls the color that you want them when you're going to move out. You paint it to what's going to be best for everybody looking. And I think that future-proofing your house and putting a charger in before you move out, I think it would draw more eyes on the property for sure.
That's what I was thinking. People that have EVs, they might be looking for homes that already have chargers installed, and that might be affecting the price of your house. So.
Absolutely. I don't think it's going to turn anybody away from your property for having that.
Definitely. Yeah. Another main concern is, people say my electric bill is going to go through the roof. That's a pretty common thing we hear. Is that something you've experienced owning your Mach-E?
There is definitely an increase in your electricity usage. But based on the app that I have that runs the charger, I can see that I'm using about 1/3 the cost of electricity than I used in gasoline before that. So it does go up, but you're still saving overall.
Okay, and I'll put that breakdown up here. How many kilowatts Chris charged with and how much the cost was compared to, let's say, how many miles he got out of that. Sure. So how much do you typically spend on charging a night? And I know this varies because right. You may use different amounts of your battery per day, but on average, how much do you say?
So I just looked at this for last month, and whenever I looked at it, I saw that my average per day charge was about $3.50.
Spending, I'll like I said, I'll put up there what he spent a month charging, but that's a significant difference in what you'd spend on a gas vehicle.
Absolutely.
So I hear the term off-peak charging times. So what is an off-peak charging time, and how can people benefit from off-peak charging?
So it's going to be different based on whoever your electricity provider is. With mine, I know that my off-peak hours start at 9 p.m. So the electricity I buy from the company costs me less after 9 p.m. So I have my charger to start to charge at 9 p.m. It'll charge 9 p.m. until it's finished, which typically, if we use it quite a bit that day, it takes about 5 hours. So I know that I'm going to be charging when the electricity costs the least to save me the most.
And what kind of charger do you have at your house?
I have a Wallbox Pulsar Plus. So it's a 40 amp charger. It gets me about 23 miles per hour of charge.
So, and if you think on average, most people drive about 40 miles a day. So, right. If you have that charger in your house, you're going to recoup in about 2 hours.
Exactly.
So, a lot less time. Well, speaking of that, what's the time frame of charging your EV at home?
For a full charge, right about 5 hours tends to be right, somewhere between 4 and 5 hours to get it from wherever we left it through the day to completely full. Most manufacturers say don't charge past 80%, but I usually go up to 100% anyways, just because I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, and I want to make sure that I do have enough power for that day.
And if you're charging on like a 40 amp, charging to 100% isn't as, would you say, is it different than charging to 100% on like a DC fast charger?
Yeah, absolutely. Any DC fast charger usually cuts your power back at around 80% battery, so the time grows much longer to finish that charge. So for most people, they stop at 80%, and that's where they leave it. But at a home charger, just leave it plugged in.
Yeah. I'm going to actually take a Mach-E down to one of our public chargers here in McCandless, just to kind of show you what it looks like public charging, how much it's going to cost me, things like that. So there's a charging station in McCandless Crossings, which is a few miles down the road from us. I'm going to go there. I'm going to plug in. I'm going to show you the whole process, everything you need to know. I want to make it very comfortable and simple for you. That way, a lot of people think that, when you go to a charging station, it's scary, because it is. You don't know what to do. So we're going to go to one. I'm going to walk you through the process. We're at 75%, so, we're not going to stay there very long, but I just want to show you how it works, and get a little bit more in depth with it. So let's go. So I just got to the EVgo charging station in McCandless Crossings in Pittsburgh here. I'm going to walk you through how to pay, plug in, what things you need to look for on the actual screen. And like I said, we're at 74%, just going up to 80, just to show you how to do it. So we just rolled up to the charge station here. Oh, do I have my wallet? Yeah, I do. Okay, just rolled up to the charge station. This is going to be our outlet here for the Mach-E, but we're just going to put sorry part, plug in any open connection. So we're going to open our DC fast charging port. I might need to put the camera down because these things are hard to maneuver. Okay, we made our connection. And then we're going to be paying with credit card, because so you can either pay with your EVgo account or you can pay with credit card. So once it authorizes my payment, it does a thing called a handshake. So when you plug in the connector, there's information sent between the charging station and the car. They call it a handshake. So once it authorizes my payment, it's going to connect to the vehicle. So it just came up on the screen, connection successful. So I don't know if you can see here. It's going to tell us what our state of charge is, which I said before is 74% when I left, 73% now. Estimated cost to top it off, and how much power. So this is pretty important here. You see where it says 34 kilowatts? It's not focusing very well, but it says 35 kilowatts. So that's how much power it's sending to the battery as we speak. Little symbol there when it is charging. So you'll see it says fast charging 80% at 9:37 a.m. It is 9:28 right now. So 9:28. So you notice how it says fast charging to 80%. Like I said, the fastest charging is between 10 and 80%. So why does this power or rate of charge decrease? So, your vehicle is very smart. It knows, what battery percentage it's at. It does it to preserve the battery and to maintain its health. So it's not good to keep pushing a lot of, let's say, juice into the battery when it's above 80%. I'm going to hit stop charge here. And it'll stop charging once it processes here. So let's see if we can read these statistics. Charge fee, session fee. So we spent $7.37 here, and we were here 14 minutes, and we charged about 7.8 kilowatt hours. So before you unplug the charger, forgot to record it, but you're going to hit that this button here is going to unlock it. So that way, someone can't just come up to your vehicle and unplug your charger. So make sure you close your DC port and your charge port. All right, so I'm not going to talk too much about the cost of the public charging we just did. In this video, I'm going to talk about it a little bit more in the next video when we talk about cost, because this video is already super long. So I'm going to get into chargers. So these are 4 residential chargers here. The mobile power cord for 120 volt, the one for 240 volt, Ford connected charge station, and the Ford Charge Station Pro. So Ford uses a good analogy that I'm going to use as well. Think of it as filling a bucket up with water. So, what are you going to use to fill the bucket up? So we're going to do that and compare each charger. So the mobile charge cord, the 120 volt, that's going to plug into your standard 3-prong outlet. So it's going to be standard with the vehicle. You don't have to pay any extra for it. People call it a trickle charger because it charges at 3 miles of range for every hour. When we're using the bucket analogy, think of it as trying to fill the bucket up with a straw. You're taking little bits at a time. And this charger actually goes up to 12 amps. Next charger is the 240 volt. So what comes with your vehicle, it comes with the adapter for this. So you can use it as a 240 volt charger. So you can get up to 20 miles of range without actually having to buy a charger. So we're going to use this comparable to like a garden hose to fill up your bucket. So it fills up a little bit faster, and it's up to 32 amps. So this next one here is the Ford connected charge station. This does not come with the vehicle. It's the best for the Mach-E. You can find this charger at chargers.ford.com. We're going to compare this to a fire hose because it's going to fill up the bucket a lot faster. So 27 to 33 miles of range every hour, and that's up to 48 amps. So the 33 miles is typically on the extended range, and the 27 miles is typically on the standard range. And again, like I said, up to 48 amps and best for Mach-E. I also put the price up there for this one. So let's look at the last one here. It is the Ford Charge Station Pro. So this charge station is going to be best for the Lightning. It's also going to come standard with the extended range Lightning, but I also put the price up there. And chargers.ford.com where you can find it. So Ford doesn't have a comparison for this one. I just said using a bigger fire hose. So you're going to get about 19 to 30 miles of range every hour. That 19 miles of range is on a standard range Lightning, and then 30 miles is going to be on an extended range Lightning, and that's up to 80 amps. So this one's also going to offer the intelligent backup power, which Matt will touch on shortly, which is a really cool feature. Let's touch briefly on public charging. So when you go to public charge, you'll see the bottom 2 there. That's your DC fast charging. You'll typically see charging stations like 50 kilowatt, 150 kilowatt, or 350 kilowatt. So if you plug into a 350 kilowatt with a Mach-E, you're not going to get that kind of speed. You're not going to get 350 kilowatts. You're still going to get the same as what's probably a 150 charger. But say you're going on a road trip, I recommend narrowing your results for 150 chargers instead of 50 kilowatt chargers. But you'll typically see them in that fashion there. But charging speeds differ. So I'm going to jump to how the charging curve works. Let's talk about the charging curve. So this is a chart here. It's not perfect, but it'll do. So left side here, 0 through 170, this is going to be your charging speed in kilowatts. Down at the bottom here, it's going to go 0 through 100. So this is your battery. SOC is your state of charge. So that's in percentage. So 10%, 20%, 30%, 40, all the way up to 100. So say you are on a road trip in your Mach-E, and I pull over at a charging station to charge my vehicle. I'm at 20%, right? So I charge right here. What charge speed am I just going to start at 100 and just Go straight across? No. So what's really going to happen is it's going to be almost like a slope. It's not very consistent. I'll try to my best ability draw it by memory. So it's going to look somewhat similar to this. Okay, so not 100% accurate because I just drew it free-handed, but it will explain a lot better. So charging at these lower percentages, your charging speed is going to be a lot higher. And I went up to 170. It probably only dips to about 160 at most. But so when you first plug in, you're going to get very fast charging speeds, but it'll immediately slope down. So you may see it level off at 100 here. You may see it tank down to 75. So I drew it at the 75 mark, but it'll level off at 75, and as soon as you see 80, it tanks. So it dips down tremendously, usually in like 14 to 12 kilowatt charging speeds, which is very slow, especially if you're trying to get somewhere. So when it comes to road tripping, it'll tell you to charge your battery from, let's say, 10% to 70%, right? Great time to charge your battery because these are fantastic charging speeds. 150, 160 to 75, still great charging speeds. You may spend 30 minutes here. Why not charge up to 100? Because this tanks off. So, if I want to charge between 80 to 100%, 80 to 100 might be 30 minutes in itself. So that's why most of the time you'll see it say, charge at this certain charge station up to 70% and then move to the next one, because it's going to save you time. You're going to spend 30 minutes getting up to 70. Do you want to spend another 30 minutes going from 80 to 100? So that's the best way to present the charging curve. So we just talked about public charging and charging curve. I'm here with Matt. Matt is the EV expert at our Wexford store, and I'm going to get a few tips and tricks from him, ask him a few general questions. So what are some charging techniques someone would use to preserve and maintain the health of their battery over the ownership?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that you can do. One thing to keep in mind is that if you're not using the full charge on a daily basis, you really only want to charge the vehicle battery up to about 80 to 90%. Now, some people might ask me, hey, Matt, what if you're going on a long trip? Well, if you're going on a long trip, no problem. You can definitely charge a vehicle up to 100%. It's just not recommended on a daily basis. It'll keep that overall battery health better in the long term. And then some other things to keep in mind is, hey, we don't want to let that vehicle charge dip below 15%. If you are out there on the road and you dip below 15%, that can actually cut off the power being charged to your 12-volt battery, the stuff that powers your accessories and your HVAC, because in order to keep that the high voltage battery healthy, it needs to provide a little bit more power to the thermal management system. So,
yeah, and I think a lot of people don't realize that even though it is a full battery electric vehicle, that it does have a 12-volt battery. There's still a 12-volt battery that does regulate, some of the accessories and stuff you mentioned. So another thing was the weather. So, I talked about this in the range a little bit, how weather can affect range. So what are some warm and cold weather charging tips? Because, we don't really get too much above 90, but we do get below 40. So what are some cold and warm weather charging tips you would give to someone?
Yeah, right off the bat, keep the vehicle inside as much as possible. If you have a garage, park it inside. That's going to be the best way to make sure that that you're maximizing that range. Another thing would be to keep the vehicle plugged in as much as possible. In those cold temperatures especially, take advantage of the fact that you can precondition the vehicle while it's still plugged into the charger. You can actually heat or cool the vehicle to your desired temperature, and that also lets the high voltage battery warm up to its desired temperature as well.
Yeah, because I spoke about that in range too, how you want your battery to be comfortable as well. So that's a very good point.
Also, make sure that you're removing all the ice and snow off your vehicle. I mean, anything you can do to reduce the drag and kind of reduce that weight, it's going to help you maximize your range also.
Definitely. So, do I have to plan my road trip around charging because I have an EV? Because that's one thing people are like, what if I'm going on a road trip? Where are the charging stations at? That's a little bit with range anxiety too. Is people are stressed about where chargers are because they're not, these big gas station signs up on the side of the road. So,
and that's a valid point. I mean, especially you might be traveling to an area you've never been to before. An EV driver might be familiar with, hey, I can access a charger, somewhere in my backyard, in your local area. But hey, if I'm going to Philadelphia or New York or something, like, where am I going to charge at? Well, Ford's making it easy. They have this thing called Ford Pass Power My Trip. So if you actually go to your Ford Pass app, you can actually go to the map section, select your origin and your destination city, and it will actually route chargers for you along the way.
So you don't have to worry about...
No worrying about it at all. And then the best part about that, Caleb, is the fact that when you route those chargers, it'll actually tell you the estimated time you're going to be charging, and it will incorporate the overall amount of time into your trip already. So you can kind of get that, like, hey, I'm going to be charging for this amount of time, maybe 30 minutes here, maybe 30 minutes here, but at the end of the day, kind of the rough idea of I'm going to be there in X amount of hours.
And that is nice. So what if there's two chargers, right? One says 30 minutes, another says 40 minutes. Am I able to stay at the other charger longer and then the other charger less?
Absolutely. So if you decide, hey, I'm going to charge a little bit longer here, the family and I are going to have a meal, it'll actually reduce the charge time at the next location.
So it'll do that in live time?
Absolutely. Also, if you don't want to use the Ford Pass app and you're kind of just doing it, on the spur of the moment, you can actually go into the in-vehicle navigation. Same thing. You can plug in a route there. It will put up all the chargers along your way and, give you those same updates as well. And not to mention, if you use the Ford Pass app, you can actually start a trip on your phone and just send that directly to the vehicle. And you can even save a trip. Like, hey, want to plan out, next year's vacation? Figure out where you're going, maybe put a few different destinations in there, and those will actually save in the app for you as well.
I think that's pretty beneficial. And another thing, doesn't Ford offer so many kilowatt hours? I think it's like 250 kilowatt hours of charging.
Yeah. So whenever you sign up for your Ford Pass connected services and you download the Ford Pass app, you'll get enrolled into the Ford Pass charging network with complimentary access for 2 years. That being said, you're also going to get 250 kilowatt hours of complimentary charging at all the Electrify America charging stations. I like the Electrify America charging stations because they feature plug-in charge at a lot of their chargers.
And the plug-in charge, that's with Ford Pass where you can connect your card, and once you plug in the vehicle, it automatically...
Absolutely. Simply just drive up, go up to the charger, plug it in, starts charging immediately, and it will already charge your preferred payment method.
So it's even better in a gas station. Because gas station you have to pay and then all that stuff, and then with electric, all you have to do is just plug it in.
Absolutely.
Sounds pretty fair to me. Next one here is, how much time am I going to spend charging my vehicle?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. For the average consumer, the average person that, might have a typical, 15, 20-mile commute to work on a daily basis, even if you throw in an extra few miles for running errands or picking somebody up, you're not going to be using quite your whole range on a regular basis. So, there are definitely multiple methods of charging you go about, and, each one might be different and better for the individual. So, they have level 1 charging and level 2 charging, and you can use those with the Ford mobile charging cord that's going to come right with your vehicle. They have the outlet plug for both the level 1 and the level 2. A level 1 charger is the standard 110 volt plug that's going to go into your typical wall outlet, and that's going to get you only about 3 miles per every hour that you charge. Now, if you use the level 2 charger, that's going to be your 240 volt outlet. So like if you have something like you would see for a washer or a dryer, and that's going to be 20 miles per hour of charge time.
So you're saying that, like, say the Mach-E is my second vehicle and I use it to go to work and back, and I only work, let's say, 5 miles away. So I'm doing a 10-mile round trip a day. you're saying I don't even need to buy a charger. I can just use the one that comes with it, plug it into a normal outlet, and be fine overnight.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you figure if you get home at, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, turn in for the night, that thing's going to be on the charger for 10 plus hours. You can even optimize to set charging times to whenever the grid costs are a little bit lower so that your vehicle will start charging at an optimal time. Should you not need that full range, and remember, folks, we're not trying to charge up to 100% every day.
Yeah, whatever range. Say I use 10 miles. If I plug in for 3 hours, 3.5 hours, I've already replenished what I've used. So I think that's...
Yeah, there's even a whole suite available inside any of the EVs that Ford offers that allows you to set a specific maximum charge for each location.
Oh, wow. I think a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah, whether that be the home, office, gym, anywhere that you're going to find a charger that you use regularly.
And you said you can save the chargers?
You can save them, you can name them, you can even adjust at different times, what you want your max charge to be.
Wow. So, on to the next one. There are a lot of people worried about public charging, just in general as a whole. It's scary. I showed the whole process already, but it's still scary. So what tips would you give people? What information would you give to ease their mind?
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, Ford has made the commitment. They have 13,500 charging stations in their network at this moment, and they're committed to growing that year by year. I know that they've already partnered with Electrify America, a few other major players in the charging industry. Can't remember who they are.
That's right. There's ChargePoint, EVgo.
EVgo. They partnered with EVgo.
So a lot of different variations of chargers. You may see like Electrify America, you may see EVgo, stuff like that. So a burning question is, what if I do not have enough range to make it to a charger? This is a tough one. Because...
Yeah, that's really tough. If you ever find yourself in that spot, you do have Ford roadside assistance, which is going to come with any Ford vehicle. All of your EV models are going to have 5 years, 60,000 miles of roadside assistance, whichever should come first. So if you do run out of range, you're definitely going to have to have somebody come out, tow the vehicle. But they will tow it to either the nearest Ford retailer, the nearest charging station, or your home, whatever's more convenient for you. And that won't cost you anything because it's complimentary with your new vehicle.
I think that's good to know. That makes it a little more relaxing, that if worst case scenario, like you run out of gas in a car, you have someone looking out for you.
Absolutely.
I think I skipped one here actually. What if there's a power outage at your house? How do I charge? Another tough one.
That's really tough, Caleb. If you do have a power outage at your house, you're more than likely going to have to go find a charging station in public. But just like I mentioned before, you pull out your Ford Pass app, or you go into the in-vehicle navigation, you'll find some chargers close by and hopefully get you that speed. That might be a good time to use one of those DC fast chargers at that point.
Yeah.
That will get you the charge you need relatively fast. I mean, even if you were at 0%, you can get up to an 80% charge in about 45 minutes. I'm pretty sure you touched on that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I think the Lightnings have a feature. So let's say your Lightning has 80%, 100%. Don't they have a feature that can help with power outages?
Yeah, they have a feature called Intelligent Backup Power. It's cutting edge technology. It'll actually allow you to use the stored power in your EV and actually plug that into your home and power up your house.
So your EVs, you're now your generator.
Absolutely.
Interesting to know. Any other things you would say about EVs?
Yeah, I mean, everyone.
People should know.
I get questions all the time, like similar to what you just asked about. Range anxiety. Are there enough chargers out there? Can I drive an EV? I take long trips here and there. This is the future, guys. They're committed to making these vehicles, as best as they possibly can, and it's not going anywhere. So there's going to be more chargers. There's going to be more service centers available to you. There's going to be a real big push by the whole motor vehicle industry to make sure that that we have the groundwork and the framework to make sure that we're successful in this field. I love EVs because they're really fun to drive. I mean, you have uncapped power and uncapped torque. They handle unbelievably. You don't have that smelly smog coming out of there, no fumes or anything like that. So you're being environmentally friendly. But yeah, I mean, there's no reason why we can't have EVs and have performance at the same time. Yeah. That's why the Mustang Mach-E is so successful.
And I think it's funny too when you pull up somewhere and you pop your hood, and it's just a trunk.
Yeah, you got no ICE, no internal combustion engine. You got just
some more storage room.
Some more storage room. You could fill it up with some sodas, whatever you want. There's even a drain plug there, so you could actually use it as a cooler.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Would you have to change the name of tailgate? Like if you're tailgating, would you have to change it because you're like front gating? What would be the new term for that?
That's a tough one. Jeez, I don't know.
We'll have to think about that one.
Yeah.
A new term for tailgating, but with your front trunk.
Yeah.
But I hope you learned a lot of information today. We had Matt and Chris talk today, but don't forget SchultzFord.com.
SchultzFord.com.
I'm going on a beach vacation and a charging station isn't close by. How much charge will I lose over a week if I let my car sit?
I'll take it.
Caleb?
So if your vehicle's sitting, unless the temperatures are extreme, which, if you're going way south, or if you're going to the beach in Alaska, your battery percentage isn't going to change that drastically. You may see a couple percentage change, but one good thing is you can bring your charger. So every Ford electric vehicle comes with a wall charger. Say they don't have a dryer outlet, as long as they have a 3-prong outlet, which most places do, you can trickle charge your vehicle. So even though you're getting 3 miles per day, you're not losing anything. So it's always an option. Or if you want to take a break, halfway through the week, drive out, charge it. If that makes you feel more comfortable, and then drive back, that's another option. Does that make sense? You think that?
Absolutely. Pull out your Ford Pass app, see where the nearest charger is. Head on down there. You get to see some different parts of the area bring the whole family.
Yeah.